Good morning, everyone. This is your host, Christopher Decker, for another very special episode of the Eureka Moments Only podcast. We share the breakthroughs, the pivotal moments, the turning points that shape businesses, people, everything. So we're speaking with Zina Wilde. She's an actress, producer. You might even recognize her from the show Billions. Zina, great to have you on this morning.
Thank you for having me.
So tell us your story. Tell us more about yourself.
Well, my story, I've been in New York for a long time now. I'm originally from Greece, but I've been here for, over 15 years now. And I've been the past 5 years, I've been working on the show Billions on Showtime. I'm a writer, I'm a producer, I'm also a life coach. And I currently live in New York City, which is the epicenter of the coronavirus. And I've also been hit with the virus, and I've been struggling with it for the past 4 weeks now, 4.5. So it's been a long road, but I've been on the road to recovery, which has been very positive and good news. So I feel much better now.
So of that 4 weeks, so what kind of happened? What happened? How did it feel? And most importantly, what kind of mindset did you have to develop? And what are you currently thinking about right now?
A couple of things happened. Well, at first it was quite mild. I didn't really feel like anything severe. But then I knew that a friend of mine had tested positive, so I was a little bit more cautious. And as things started turning for the worst in New York City, I started monitoring it better. And then my symptoms got worse. And so it was a longer battle because it was one day was a good day, the other day wasn't as good of a day. So but I realized that for me, what was really important was to listen to my body, because I kept getting advice from different sources. And because also the virus is so new, people were having different opinions about things, and it would change on a daily basis. So what I found really important for me was that I really did feel like I needed to listen to my body. And because there were moments where everyone was saying you need to really rest and not move. Mm-hmm. And then I didn't feel like that was the right thing. And I felt like I needed to move, and I needed to move my body because I'm also used to moving my body. So eventually then they told me that because I developed pneumonia and a collapsed lung, they said that if I wasn't moving, that would have been worse. So it was an interesting dichotomy, and that's what I was understanding, that everyone meant to be giving good advice, and they were saying the best that they could find, but ultimately what feels good in your body is, I think, the right thing to do. So yeah. Does that answer the question?
It does answer the question. Something I think really critical here that you mentioned is listening to your body. But that might be hard for some people, that maybe we don't listen to our bodies. How do we get into that practice, especially when modern medicine is telling us to do the opposite of maybe what we need?
Absolutely. And that's such a great question. And I'm not so sure that I'm not a doctor, so I'm not so sure that this is the answer for everybody here. But I do know that for someone that is used to paying close attention to both physiological and emotional responses and stimulus, I think that it's you have to trust your body when that is there. When it's not, and you're someone that's a little shut down in a way, I think that that's a little bit of a different discussion, because it's two different types of people ultimately. I think that for people that are in general tend to have a better, I shouldn't say better because that's judgmental, but have a more accurate way of doing a check mark every day of their lives. I think that they will be a little more prone to saying, oh, this actually feels good or this doesn't. So this is a choice for everyone, and it's a choice of whether or not they want to inhabit this uh, it's kind of a habit of doing things, and whether or not every day that you wake up you want to check in and say, okay, how do I feel? How does my body feel? How does my breathing feel? How does my movement feel? How do I feel in general? And that should not be a special event, for me at least. I have to do it on a daily basis. So I think that that's how it happened for me.
That's awesome. It sounds like by making it a habit and making it a simple yes or no question, and really, really doing an honest check-in and doing that consistently is going to help you get to the root of it. Zina, you're obviously a very creative person, writer, producer, actress. I mean, you're life coach. You're living and breathing this stuff, literally. Are you noticing any creative outpourings? Are you creating? Are you seeing your friends creating? What's going on?
Yeah, it's actually been really, it's interesting because it's at first, usually, like you said, in my day-to-day life, pre-corona, I generally have a good system, and I'm good about creating things and bringing them to life and creating from page to screen and all these things. And I feel like I'm pretty good at that, and I don't suffer from writer's block or things like that. But I have to say that in the beginning it was a little overwhelming. It was almost like the idea of, you're forced to do this, you're forced to stay at home, and it's not your choice anymore, was a little bit overshadowing the idea of creativity for me personally. But as the weeks went by, I'm very lucky. I'm friends with a lot of creative people, and we created this group that we Zoom once a week, and um, we write 10 pages a day, and then we read them to each other every Tuesday. Today actually is our day. So tonight at 8:30, we all sit together via Zoom and we read our pages, and we we've now assembled, I don't know, about 200 pages of stuff that we've come up with, which has been actually a saving grace, because even at times that I really don't want to do it, it's actually forcing me to sit down and do it, because like I said, there are moments where I just want to do mostly nothing these days. But this has helped a lot for that. So that's one thing with my friends. And then in general, I think there are creative outlets that we're going to see in the future, more in the
Mhm.
next, after. There's a part of me that feels that this is now the brewing period.
Mhm.
So we're now going through the brewing period. And then once this period is over, there's going to be an outpour of a lot of new things that are going to be coming out. But I do think we need the break. I think we need to listen and stop right now. I don't think it's the time to be in. We need to be doing this, and we personally, and that's how I feel. I feel the need to stop and listen.
Interesting. So, as an artist, taking that pause and maybe absorbing everything, and you know, coming into now, really fully understanding, so that when we're back on the upswing, and there's a lot more to I don't know what the word is, a lot more to put into our work, right?
I think so. That's how I feel. That's it, because it's the thinking now is one-sided. We're seeing everything from one whole. Like, we can't see the full spectrum. So in order to really be creative, I think it's like, you know, Einstein, right? He was an artist and he was a scientist. In order to have both, you need to have the full spectrum. So I think uh, I really am appreciating the moment of stillness, and I think it's very rare, and it can also be considered as a very strange gift that we're given. That I think that it's like almost like Mother Nature giving us a timeout. So that's how I view it.
Mother Nature is giving us a timeout.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I see it.
Well, can you share more about that timeout? Mother Nature is giving us a timeout. What does that mean to you?
To me, it means that I think that for the most part, there is, I was listening to this again because I thought that it was relevant to these days. I don't know if you've listened to the Brene Brown TED Talk on vulnerability. And I really love it because she keeps saying how courage comes when you are showing vulnerability. And that is, by definition, is a definition of courage. So I think that um, when we run really quickly and all we want to show is how we're on the top part of things, we're above them, we actually leave out a lot of other, the most important stuff. And we need both. It's not that we need to always be down there and just be feeling sorry about ourselves. It's the exact opposite. But in order to get above it, you need to go from the downward upward. It's so, if you don't have that, it's just, it becomes empty, and it doesn't resonate with anybody also. So I think, to me, that's the important part. And I listening to that again yesterday, it reminded me of how this is a vulnerable time for everybody. It's
Mhm.
it's foolish to not acknowledge that. I believe it's just but through this courage becomes the strength. And we, of course, we will get through this, and it will, you know, it will be different. But I think that right now the best thing to do is to pay attention, to really is stop and listen, to acknowledge, to admit that we don't need to be running all the time. It's okay if we need to stop and listen. And so that's what I think is the timeout. um that it's been for a long time, we've been running too fast. And I actually, you know, speaking of eureka moments, about last week, that's when I had mine, because I was feeling very anxious and I kept wondering, I need to be doing more. I need to be, this is the time I've been given, this free time, and everyone stopped. And now I'm not, and in the competition of like, oh, but now everyone stopped. So I need to be doing this so that I can get ahead of everything. And that's when I really had that moment. And I said, no, this is the opposite. This is when you need to be doing nothing, to let it come to you, which is, I mean, it's funny because the eureka moment comes when you don't do anything. But definition, this is what happened when in ancient Greece. He was like sitting in the bathtub, and that was the eureka moment. So
Hmm.
it's I think that that's the important part here, you know.
Yeah, I think it's so tempting to think of a eureka moment as being some massive achievement, or getting some sort of medal or token that represents hard work and perseverance and progress. Perhaps right now the eureka moment comes in the white space, from the
Hmm.
listening, from doing the exact opposite of our animal instinct, which is to start racing and to speed up and to dive into that anxiety.
The funny thing is that what is actually the hardest thing right now for everybody is to just sit and listen. So that is really the difficult thing. Everyone really wants to go out and do things, and the hardest part is for everyone to stop, which is the biggest irony of it all. But we can't always keep running away from things or running towards things, or sometimes it's okay to just stop. And right now we're being called to do that. By definition, we're like being called to just stop, otherwise there's a deadly virus out there that's gonna get us. And it's that's, to me, it's a very interesting point in time. And I'm excited to see what the new normal is going to be afterwards, what the world will be like, how we're going to be like, because it's premature to just have predictions, this, that, or all that, I think.
So in 2021, we're going to have our next Eureka Fest, right? We're finally going to be able to get back together. We were supposed to do it this year, May 2nd. And this is hard for me. I love people. I love being around people. I love hugs, everything that comes with that, right? Last year you were at Eureka Fest. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience, and then how maybe live events in your mind might evolve based on what's happening here in the brewing?
Yeah.
And that could just be your whatever you think.
I really don't know, to be honest. My experience last year was a wonderful experience. I had a great time. It was a great gathering of people. It was a great party. I mean, I love a lot of different minds coming together, different ideas, smart people, people from all over the world. It was truly a wonderful experience and a great place to be. And I was very happy to be there. And I was really looking forward to it this year. But how things will evolve, it is quite a ways from now. So I am optimistic, and I think that there are brilliant minds in this world. And by then, who knows? We could have a vaccine and everything will be fine. I really don't know. And I want to stay optimistic, but like really at this is I think the trap, and the best thing is to stay with the now, because if we stay with the now today, we will be staying with the now every day. And that is where, it's like the same kind of thinking of like, even before this virus or anything. And I think that this is what's triggering us. It's this idea that I'll be happy when. I'll be happy when I get this car. I'll be happy when I marry this person. I'll be happy when I have this house. And then you get the house, and then you want something else. And then, so you're always behind. You're never actually getting to the place of true happiness, because you always want something that is not there yet. So some people live by that, and that is something that they think that is what is, that's what life is. But I don't believe in that. I think that you can be happy in the now of now, in that what's happening in the moment, and that's what we're being called upon. So it's an interesting exercise to see really what, like a good question, I think, that I ask every day to myself: how can I be happy today? What brings me happiness today? And focus on that. And then the more that becomes a habit, I think the more it becomes a better way of life, because you live your life on a daily basis, from day to day, without waiting for the special event to make you happy, because that's completely based on sensationalism and on special events, and weekend, I call them weekend warriors, people that live for the weekend. We're not supposed to live for the weekend or for our vacations, or we're supposed to live every day. So and that's why, even at this situation where our lives have changed and we're really challenged, and this is not going to last forever, and things will be back to normal, eh, whatever that is. I do think that it's the greatest lesson to learn, for me at least, is that, and that's what I'm learning. Okay, what brings me joy today? What can I do that will make my life a little bit better? So yeah, that's what I have to say. But I think 2021 will be a great Eureka Fest also.
Wow. Absolutely wow. Thank you, Zina, so much for wrapping that up in such a beautiful way. And I think the most important message that you've shared is to come into now, take the time to pause, and let the future unfold. Do you have
Yes.
any closing thoughts? Are you active on social media? Is there a way that we can find you?
I am active. I'm not super active on it. I am on Instagram. My Zina Wilde. If you'd like to find me, I would love to talk to anyone that has any thoughts, questions, concerns, anything. I'm happy to talk to anyone. And I thank you so much for having me. Also, I had a great time talking to you, and can't wait to see you in the flesh again, and
Next year, right?
next year. And yeah, but yeah, I don't know, no more thoughts.